Hey, you want to watch some TV or something?
Skip it. Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Nothing but foul language and toilet humor.
I'm disgusted and repulsed and I can't look away.
I need these things! I need these things! Tell me, do you want to go? Where it's covered in all the color lights.
Oh, no way, Jose.
This just in, go to hell!
This conversation can serve no purpose anymore.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
Welcome, friends and listeners and new YouTubers, because this is Watch Skip Plus. We are a movie review podcast with a lifestyle twist. I am Cupcake, also known as Jose, and I'm joined by my co-host, Emcee, Alex. We do have fun nicknames, YouTubers, and so people call me Cupcake. They also call me Machine Gun Jelly, and then Jammin' Jelly, because of a horrible racy dad joke that Emcee told. But Emcee's nicknames are Mr. Meatball Monday, but primarily Sloppy Joes with a Z. What, I'm missing one? Am I missing one?
I don't know.
We got a ton of nicknames. Anyway, so what's interesting about this episode is that it is kind of a milestone. So not only is it our first official YouTube podcast episode in terms of both audio and the video. So now you can see our faces. You can't see me. Is that John Cena?
Yes, that is.
Yeah. Okay. So be sure to subscribe, spread the word, like, leave comments. This is a great place to try to interact with us, because we can certainly try to look at all of your comments and try to respond to them. We are trying to foster a community because we started in podcasting world, which is basically audio only. And we were trying to foster like a community of film lovers. And we welcome everyone here. I happen to love Madam Web. So just know your love for movies will not be judged here. But it's our 100th episode, which is kind of crazy. And we are reviewing Joker Folie Deux. And I kind of wish maybe it was a different movie we were doing for number 100, but
like maybe it is
like Emcee was begging. So as my former co-host Red would say, just to pull back the curtain, we have some arguments, disagreements sometimes about what to review. Megalopolis just is all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And The Crow. That's the other thing I'm going to say. The Crow. Although, well, anyway, the decisions seem fine. So the format of our show, first is we like to do a little bit of an icebreaker. So here we go. Q and Alex is the cute little name that we've come up with the segment. Q and Alex Hot Shot. So my question to you is, what is your walk-in music? Or you can answer both.
Okay.
If there is like a score or a music artist that would play during your life as a soundtrack, who or what would it be? Feel free to answer how you wish.
This is definitely one where a heads up. So it would have been cool, but we don't share the Q and Alex. So I have to go off the top of my head. My walk-up song. A song that always gets me pumped up is Corso by Tyler, the Creator. I don't know why.
Okay.
I'm sure most of our listeners have never heard it, but I don't know. It always gets me going. So that would be my walk-up song. And I don't have an answer for the second one.
Okay. Okay.
What about you?
I don't know. I think I'd have to go. I think my walk-up song might, I don't know.
You've
might
had
be
time to think of it.
I know I did have time to think about this, which is kind of crazy, right? But Uh, Probably something like "Spice Up Your Life" by the Spice Girls. Just
Okay.
something crazy, right? As for a score, like what kind of music would be playing during my life, I think it would have to be like the soundtrack to Alias. So I grew up, not grew up, but I fell in love with a show called Alias starring Jennifer Garner. This was a J.J. Abrams show. It was like a spy cliffhanger thing, and then everything went to shit after season 2. It only lasted 4 seasons, but the music in there by Michael Giacchino, who's become a big music composer, as well as he directed Werewolf by Night. I think it was a one-off for Disney Plus. But that music, it's very like electronic and it gets your heart pumping, but then there's also these wonderful like emotional sort of beats to it. So it's great. I like it.
I was thinking of, oh my gosh, what movie did we watch recently? It's like the Cheer movie with is Kristen Dunst in it?
Oh, Bring It On?
Yeah, we were watching Bring It On,
Yeah.
and it was actually pretty good, but the score in that has like the early 2000s like weird music, like dun 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 dun, but it's also
Yes.
like
That's the shit I
futuristic.
grew up on.
Yeah,
When they're
I'm
like,
like, maybe that's what I want my movie or my life to sound like.
dun, 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 woo!
Yeah.
Yes, yes. By the way, I was such a happy little gay boy when I saw it in the theaters because there's a scene where they're mimicking Sweet Charity, which is a Bob Fosse musical. And so when they're doing like the hips and the hands and stuff like that, they actually showed a little clip of that musical. And then she's like doing the punching or whatever. Oh my God. I was like, yes, Fosse, 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 Fosse.
Hey, I've seen all that jazz.
Oh, right. Perfect. See, there you go. This is why I picked this guy. Okay. You're probably on the other side, but whatever.
I'm above you on my screen.
Are you? Damn, Zoom. Okay. So the lifestyle twist in Watch Skip Plus, because obviously when we review a movie, we're going to tell you whether to watch or skip it, and primarily whether you should venture to the theater to see it. Because listen, we got to save exhibition, folks. If you don't keep going to the theaters, it's all going to be streaming, and you're going to miss that experience. But I will also just add this little note: going to the theaters doesn't mean you should be on your phones and talking to people while the movie's going on, because remember, it's a quiet zone like the library. So our lifestyle twist is that we have a plus, and a plus is like a bonus review. And this can be about anything. It can be about a book we've read or an art installation we saw, a concert. And so I'm going to start with Emcee. What is your plus for this week?
Okay, my plus for this week. I have plussed in the past the Athletic Football Show podcast.
Yes.
But now I'm going to plus the Athletic non-alcoholic beer. So
Awesome.
I have never had non-alcoholic beer, but the Athletic Football Show, they always have ads about it. And one of the things that they included was it's for people who like the taste of beer. And so they have a lot of different varieties, and they try their best to make it like maintain those flavors. So
The beer-like quality.
yeah, I've never, like I said, I'd never had a non-alcoholic beer, but I know a lot of our listeners don't drink. You don't drink. So I wanted to try it out and like give my feedback, and maybe it's something to try. So these are award-winning non-alcoholic beers. They come in many varieties, including a dark ale, a Mexican-style copper, golden, hazy IPA, a light beer, Belgian-style white, and then they have some seasonal releases. So right now they have a pumpkin beer.
Whoa.
Who doesn't love a pumpkin beer? And if you purchase... okay, well, if you purchase from their website, some of the options have like proceeds that they go to. So the Smilo Cancer Hospital and the Yale Cancer Center, if you buy some of their beers, those places will get money. They
That's
also
awesome.
have the Athletic Club for $29 a year, where you can get 6 packs for $10.99, $15 off merch, limited edition beers that us normies can't order, and then a free glass to drink out of. So my review is I got the hazy IPA. I got it at my local grocery store. They seem to be in stock at every grocery store I go to.
And what stores are those?
Giant Eagle.
Okay.
I've seen them at Bush's. I don't think
Bush's.
they're all located. They're probably, I think they're
Midwestern.
At Target. I think they're at
Okay.
Target. So
Okay.
all
And
over
what
the-
about
I've seen them at
Aldi's?
liquor stores. I don't
do you
know
get-
about Aldi.
Oh, okay. Harris Teeter, Whole Foods. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, they are at Whole Foods, I think.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I got the hazy IPA. The hazy hit me as soon as I like took a sip. I was like, oh, this tastes just like a hazy IPA. After sitting with it a while, it's a little less citrusy than a hazy normally is, or maybe just the smell of it. I was expecting it to be a little more citrusy. And then also with the hazy, like the aftertaste sits on your tongue for a while and kind of develops. With this non-alcoholic version, there was very little aftertaste. So it
Is that
didn't
good or
feel-
bad?
It's up to you. It's up to your preference. Like,
Yeah.
I know Alexis doesn't like hazy IPAs because of the aftertaste. It just sits there for so long. You're like, man, I need like a sip of something else. But I like it. But even with this, like, it was gone, and it like wasn't a bad thing. It just felt different, so I wanted to share it. So it
I like it.
definitely was a lot closer than I was expecting it to be, but there still were some differences. And you don't get a hangover and all that fun stuff from drinking. So yeah, the athletic non-alcoholic beer.
The athletic non-alcoholic beer. I love it. I'll remind both of us to try to, I guess, put the link in the YouTube.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Because again, 100 episodes or 99 episodes, audio only. We have to adapt to the new world. I actually have had non-alcoholic beer.
Okay.
And I don't mind it. But just for the YouTube listeners, basically, don't laugh at me, don't judge me, but I was in Sunday school as a young little fledgling homo. And we were talking about covenants or promises to God, and my promise, because everybody was like, oh, I promise not to beat up my brother. Yeah, right. Do some Hail Marys, kid. I basically said that I wouldn't smoke, drink, do drugs, or drink alcohol ever. And that is why I do not drink alcohol. I have never been high. I have never gotten drunk. Yeah, and I'm 50 because I'm 50. Anyway, so that's why I don't drink. But anyway, it sounds great. I'm always intensely interested in how people describe things that I don't do.
Mm-hmm.
And you described it very well, actually.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Okay. So for my plus, as usual, I'm like, what am I going to do? Right. In much the same way that I wasn't able to answer the damn Q&A that I gave my co-host. So a lot has been made of Project Popcorn. Project Popcorn, way back when during COVID, was when HBO Max made the controversial decision to release, instead of theatrical, they would release almost their entire catalog streaming, as well as day and date. Day and date is the industry term for in the theaters as well as streaming at home so you can catch it. So a lot has been made of that, and a film called Salem's Lot, which is based on a Stephen King novel, was supposed to be released in the theaters, and unfortunately, or fortunately, Warner Brothers made the decision to make it a streaming movie only. And so it is new this weekend. It is on Max if you are a Max subscriber. And this is Salem's Lot from the novel by Stephen King. This is directed and written by Gary Doberman, not the dog, but Dauberman. He is widely known as the architect of the Conjuring universe. So if you guys don't know, James Wan, who directed Saw with Lee Whannell, he's one of our, I guess, one of our better, more creative horror genre producers out there now. His production company is called Atomic Monster. They merged with Blue Mouse. Lots of industry dropping. Sorry, I read the trades. I apologize. But Doberman has written basically all of the Conjuring spin-off films, and I believe he wrote 2 and 3 of Conjuring. So Annabelle, The Nun, all of the crazy movies. And so he adapted this. This stars Lewis Pullman, who is the son of Bill Pullman. He was in Top Gun Maverick, the wildly underwhelming Top Gun Maverick. Mackenzie Lee, I don't know who she is. She's very cute. It's the first time I've seen her. There's a little kid. There's a child actor in here, Jordan Preston Carter, very impressive. He plays Mark Petrie. Bill Camp, great veteran character actor. Alfre Woodard, John Benjamin Hickey. He is openly gay. He's Broadway as well as television. Spencer Treat Clark. He was the son in Unbreakable. He's also been on the TNT show Animal Kingdom. And then Pilo Asbeck, who I'm completely in love with. He's a Danish actor. He played in Ghost in the Shell, as well as he played Pontius Pilate in the remake of Ben-Hur, which I don't recommend to anybody, but it's secretly really good. Anyway, so this one is about a man who returns to his small town of Jerusalem's Lot, also known as Salem's Lot, and there is a new antique shop run by somebody who may or may not be the familiar for a vampire. Anyway, it's so I just had this conversation with somebody. I don't remember a lot of the book, but when I was watching the movie, it starts out very close to the novel, and then in its last hour, it turns into something completely, shall we say, James Wan. It's very bonkers. It turns into almost John Carpenter's Vampires meets Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It just completely goes off the rails, and yet it's very entertaining. So it's a huge departure from the original source material. So if you don't know who Stephen King is, just Google him. He's a great horror writer. He's also very big on X and very political. But the original novel it's very deliberate, and kids go missing, and then you sort of discover there's the vampire. But here, like I said, they really, really divert, but they divert in some fun ways, maybe some tropey ways, maybe some typically James Wan ways, which is to say, doesn't always make sense, but it sure is fun to watch. So check this one out. It's an hour and 54 minutes. It probably could have been shortened, but like I said, there's some good scares. There's some great cinematography by Michael Burgess. I believe he has also shot some of the other Conjuring films as well. He was the DP on, give me 1 second, because I love this. He was the DP on Malignant, which was also a James Wan movie. The other Conjuring films as well, The Curse of La Llorona. So he knows what he's doing. It's very atmospheric. I think the one thing I'm a little worried about is a lot of the Conjuring movies and the spin-off movies, they all have the same kind of look. So just expect that, the sort of like red gels and the blue and the atmospheric stuff. But this is fun. I will also note that this novel was made into 2 miniseries, one from 1979, and then the other was with Rob Lowe. I said Rob Lowe. And there was also a sequel miniseries, because King always said he was going to make a sequel to this, but then chose not to write one. So streaming on Max, Salem's Lot, check it out. All right.
Is this one that you would have preferred to see in theaters?
So it's funny you mentioned that. I think I would have been angry at paying to see this in the theaters, because there's fun James Wan, like Malignant. I know a lot of people didn't like that movie, but I just thought it was so crazy and Giallo-esque and just bonkers that I really enjoyed the audience reaction to it and seeing it on the big screen. But then James Wan makes films where it's just kind of middling, like some of his Conjuring movies. And so this is a little bit more middling. So I would say streaming was actually perfect because the first hour is really slow. And I mean, I was like, okay, maybe this should have been a miniseries, and then it gets crazy. So there you go. Yep. Okay, so that brings us to our movie review proper, which is Joker Folie à Deux.
Real
Go ahead.
quick.
Yeah.
I wanted to wait till after you gave your plus to bring this up because
Okay.
I was curious if your plus would be this. Because sometimes you plus an article. Did you see that Will Smith has crazy farts?
Ew.
Did you read that article?
No.
Oh, I was kind of hoping it was going to be your plus, but Barry
What the fart?
Barry Sonnenfeld appeared on the Let's Talk Off Camera with Kelly Ripa podcast, and he revealed that on Men in Black, they had to evacuate set for about 3 hours.
Stop.
Of Will Smith's farts.
No, that is Barry Sonnenfeld is embellishing. 3 hours?
Yeah, he said it's a scene where they are sealed in a pod that's being used for the car.
Okay.
And since it got so stinky in there,
Wow. Will
they had
Smith
to
really
pause.
rippas the farts. Did you get the... Anyway.
He said, we evacuated the stage for about 3 hours, and that's incredible. No, he's just a lovely guy. It's just, he farts. Some do, some don't. He does.
Ew. Anyway, what is he eating that is so noxious that...
I don't know. I would have talked to the caterers.
I would talk to the Church of Scientology. Shouldn't he, like, ascend a couple more stages and not have such scary farts?
I don't know. But
Okay,
I thought you
anyway.
would like that, so.
I love
Sorry
it
for
because...
interrupting you.
No. Didn't we? One of the previous episodes, I had my plus was an article about like a celebrity hanger-oner who took Ozempic and maybe like some like pain pills, and then he like shit all over Gwyneth Paltrow's bed.
Yeah. That's why I was like, this might be Jose's plus.
I love it. I love it. Close, but no fart. Or what the fart. Anyway. All right. So our movie review proper is Joker Folie à Deux. Have you ever heard the term Folie à Deux?
No, and I'm just going to refer to this as Joker 2.
Correct. I don't want to have to keep saying Folie à Deux.
Yeah.
But if you were ever a fan of the television series Hannibal, which I was obsessed with, I've seen every season like 6 times, and that is not an exaggeration. But Folie à Deux is a madness that is often shared by 2 people. And it's like a psychological term, but generally what happens is one person has the psychosis or the delusions, and then the other person starts to pick it up via influence. And like, so it's called shared madness, essentially, is what Folie à Deux means. Cool. And so this is the sequel to, I think the movie is like 5 years old now, 2019's Joker, directed by Todd Phillips. What we do when we review our movies is we try to quickly, and I say quickly because it doesn't always happen that way, but do what's called below the line. So when there's a movie production, I love how we're going to be explaining these terms now so people aren't in the dark, and now that we're on YouTube. But when we talk about the line, if you've ever been in a community theater musical, or if you've shot a film, the line essentially demarcates the talent, which is above the line. So those are your actors, people who appear on screen. And then below the line are your production personnel. And so with movies, I think, and Emcee thinks as well, it's very important to sort of figure out or start to read the names of who directs, who writes, who does the cinematography and the music, because these are the things that create that art in addition to the above the line talent. So starting with below the line, we have Todd Phillips. Todd Phillips is our director. He's also the co-writer here. He's born in Brooklyn from New York. He is Jewish. I'm going to say he's kind of good looking as well. He attended NYU Film School, but unfortunately, he had to drop out because when you graduate from NYU Film School, you also have to make a thesis, which is typically a student film, especially if you're doing the director track. And he couldn't afford to pay both the student film and his tuition, so he dropped out. But let it never be said that just because you don't complete film school, you can't be a good director, as we'll see from his resume, because that student film, which he couldn't finance, actually started as a documentary called, it was called Hated Gigi Allen and the Murder Junkies. So Gigi Allen was a controversial punk rocker. And so he actually, this is kind of weird, he actually asked John Wayne Gacy, who was a serial killer, to make the poster for it because Gacy sort of like hung out with Gigi Allen. But Phillips would go on to do 2 more documentaries, one about college fraternities, basically. He produced that for HBO. And side note, in one of the seasons of Taxi Cab Confessions, which is an old HBO show where they have basically a camera in a taxi cab and people just talk about shit. It was kind of a crazy show, but he is actually one of the drivers in the season, in one of those seasons as well. And then he did a documentary on Fish. And then he met Ivan Reitman at a festival at Sundance, and basically they hooked up, and then he started directing these comedies. So he did Road Trip, Old School, Starsky and Hutch, School for Scoundrels. But we all know Todd Phillips because of the success of the Hangover trilogy, which starred Bradley Cooper, Zach Galifianakis. He's also, so all 3 of those films were huge, huge hits. I mean, the sequel broke all kinds of records, like Memorial Day records, R-rated records, like just crazy. And then he jumped in to basically do this film and got Oscar nominations for that as well. Our co-writer is a gentleman named Scott Silver. Again, I encourage you to pay attention to the writers, because when you watch a movie and you critically analyze a film and you're like, the dialogue sucked, sometimes you need to go back and look at some of the other writers, what they've done and what they've, how they write and how their style is. So Scott Silver, he's directed the films and written the films Johns. This is an older film starring David Arquette. And then The Mod Squad, which starred Claire Danes and Giovanni Ribisi, who we talked about in another episode because he became a cinematographer for the film Strange Darling, which we reviewed. But he's actually written some really good movies, and that comment will come back around when we start talking about this movie. He was nominated for the screenplay for The Fighter. That was David O. Russell's film with Christian Bale. And was that Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah.
I guess Marcus Wahlberg. I have a thing about Marcus Wahlberg. I'm
Y'all need a pilot. Yeah, it is Mark Wahlberg.
Say hello to your mother for me. And then he also wrote 8 Mile, which is fantastic. That was the Eminem movie from Imagine Entertainment, Brian Grazer and Ron Howard's production outfit. And then he wrote The Joker as well. He also wrote a film called The Finest Hours, which I haven't seen yet. It's like a submarine drama with like Chris Pine. Our DP, or our cinematographer, we call them DPs, directors of photography. So DPs, basically, they are responsible for the image that you see, how things are shot, how things are lit, why there's a Dutch angle, why are you zooming in, why are you following somebody handheld. This is Lawrence Sher, S-H-E-R. This is weird. He actually has a twin brother, and the both of them were supposed to become doctors, which is what their parents wanted. And I believe his twin brother became a urologist, but Cher dropped out of school to study. Basically, he was trying to study to become a doctor because he fell in love with photography. And he went to Paris on a high school visit, and his dad encouraged him to take a 35 millimeter camera. And that's all she wrote. He is probably best known for the film Garden State and his subsequent films with Zach Braff, actor Zach Braff from Scrubs, or the T-Mobile commercials for some of you younger watchers. He's from Teaneck, New Jersey. Yay, almost local, East Coast. I'm on the East Coast. But then he moved to LA, obviously, and then he started shooting films, other comedies like His first film was Kissing Jessica Stein, but he's shot films like Club Dread, The Dukes of Hazzard, Dan in Real Life, and of course the Hangover movies, which is where he formed his relationship with Todd Phillips. I will note this is not his first comic book film. Obviously, he shot Joker, but he also was the DP for Godzilla, King of Monsters, which is part of the Monsterverse as well. And then our music is by Hildur Gudnadóttir. She is from Reykjavik. She comes from a family. Reykjavik is in Iceland, I believe. Yes. Björk is from Reykjavik, one of my favorite artists. But Ms. Gudnadóttir is from a family of musicians, and she started writing scores for films like Tar, as well as Women Talking, and then Joker, for which she also got an Academy Award. I'm sorry, a nomination. Oh no, she did win. She won the Academy Award for Best Original Score for Joker. If you want to hear more about her, you can just check out our episode on A Haunting in Venice, because she was the composer there as well. So that's our below the line, and I'm going to turn now to Emcee, and he's going to talk about some of the actors above the line who are in this movie. Who do we got, Emcee?
Well, you are the new contestant of Cast Grab.
Okay, so we have a feature. Go ahead.
Yes, Cast Grab. I will name 4 actors. I'll take my time with each one. Jose will have 10 seconds to name as many things that they have been in as he can. So we got 4 people. I'm only going to go into depth after you answer for 2 of them. He's shutting his laptop, so we do not have to worry about him cheating. Okay. First up, we have Brendan Gleeson.
Fuck. 28 Days Later. I shot somebody. Crap. Lake Placid.
And time is up. Was that one?
I think I got 2. Lake Placid.
Okay, I didn't hear Lake Placid because I was screaming time is up, but I did start it a little bit early, so we'll give it to you.
Lake
Gotcha.
Placid, and then I said 28 Days Later.
Okay.
Because remember, he got the zombie blood in his eye, and then he went, what? And then I tried to say I shot something, but I think it's called I Went Down. That's what it was one of his foreign films that he did with, I want to say it was Colin Farrell, but that might be actually a later movie. I love Brendan Gleeson, by the way.
Yeah.
He's gotten older. He's definitely a little more overweight, but he's just so funny and sexy in Lake Placid, the alligator movie. If you guys haven't seen this, Lake Placid is fantastic. If not for Betty White in the film being like, I'm, fuck you, and I'm rooting for the alligator to eat all your friends. Anyway.
Yeah, Brendan Gleeson, he's an Irish actor. He actually spent 10 years as a teacher before becoming an actor.
Oh, wow.
He's known for Braveheart, Mission Impossible 2, Artificial Intelligence, Edge of Tomorrow, In Bruges, and recently The Banshees of Inisherin.
Inisherin. Yep.
But most importantly, he was in another film where he is in a prison for the majority of the time with his role of Knuckles McGinty in Paddington 2. An incredible movie. So check it out. He makes that movie.
As I've heard, and as Nicolas Cage and what's his
Pedro
face?
Pascal.
That's it. Say in the massive talent of whatever.
Yeah, the unbearable weight of massive talent.
There you go.
Okay, next up, moving on. You got 10 seconds to tell me about Catherine Keener.
Oh my God, being John Malkovich, Get Out, kicking and screaming, walking and talking.
That's time.
I don't know.
Good job. Good job.
Was that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Woohoo!
I don't have much on Catherine Keener. She rocks all the movies.
I love
she's
her.
had. Yeah.
She has a very sort of, I don't want to say it's deadpan, but there's a very wry, dry delivery. And she's gorgeous. So there you go.
Yeah, the only other film of hers that I'm a stand for, I guess, is The 40-Year-Old Virgin. I love that movie.
Yes.
She used to be married to Dermot Mulroney.
Shut the front door.
They have a kid.
Wow. I'd like to have a kid with Dermot Mulroney.
Hey, who wouldn't? Okay, 10 seconds. Give it up for Lady Gaga.
Oh God, A Star Is Born, American Horror Story, Hotel. Oh shit. Fuck. I don't know.
Yeah, that's about it. Not
Is
too
it?
bad.
I know she was in something else.
Yeah,
She's got it.
I'll get there. Lady Gaga, born as Stephanie Joanne Angelina Germanotta in
Germanati.
German.
Is it Germanati or Germanata?
At the end. So
Okay, got it.
I thought. In New York City, she began playing piano and singing at the age of 4. She went to NYU's Tisch School of the Arts and started her music career in 2005. Her debut album in 2008 released to critical acclaim, and her 2010 tour was the highest grossing concert tour for a debut headlining artist. She has won 13 Grammys, making her tied for the 8th most all time by a female artist.
That's incredible.
Her music videos have always been cinematic, so it's not surprising at all that she made the jump to film and TV. Her first appearance in a film was Machete Kills in 2013 and Sin City, A Dame to Kill For in 2014.
Wow. I don't remember her in those.
I think small roles.
Got it.
And then she appeared on 2 seasons of American Horror Story before appearing in A Star Is Born in 2018, where she was nominated for Best Actress, and The House of Gucci in 2021.
That's the other one, House of Gucci. Damn it. Which I also have not seen. And by the way, baby, I was born this way. Born this way.
Wow, that was beautiful.
Yeah, I wish. Anyway, go ahead.
It's not a Watch Skip Plus episode unless we get Jose to sing.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Last but least, some might say, because a lot of people do not like him, but Joaquin Phoenix.
Buffalo Soldiers, Gladiator, Explorers. Shit.
Okay, that's time.
Damn. Was he in
Joaquin Phoenix.
Explorers?
I will test. I will find out. Actually, you find out while I tell you about him.
Go for it.
Okay, born Joaquin Rafael Bottom in San Juan, Puerto Rico, the middle of 5 children, all of whom had careers in acting. They were born into the Children of God cult before they left when Joaquin was 3 years old.
That is correct.
Yes. Joaquin's first acting role was a guest appearance on his brother River's sitcom 7 Brides for 7 Brothers. He acted in small roles from 1982 to 1989 when he appears in Universal's Parenthood. But Joaquin then stopped acting because he wanted to see more of the world. After the death of his brother, he got back into acting in 1995 with Gus Van Sant's To Die For with Nicole Kidman. He also appeared in many films in the late 90s, including Oliver Stone's U-Turn and Joel Schumacher's 8mm before appearing in Gladiator, as you mentioned, Ridley Scott's Gladiator, where he was nominated for a Academy Award, a Golden Globe, Screen Actors Guild, and a BAFTA for Best Supporting Actor. He has received 3 Best Actor nominations since then for his work in Walk the Line, The Master, and lastly, he won for Joker. A couple of his movies I wanted to mention: Spike Jonze's Her from 2013, where he met his wife, Rooney Mara. Inherent Vice, You Were Never Really Here, The Sisters Brothers, and he most recently appeared in Napoleon and Ari Aster's Beau is Afraid, and he will be appearing in Aster's next film, Eddington.
So, not that I had this problem before with Joaquin Phoenix, but if an actor ever plays Jesus in a movie, they sadly join my no spank list because it's just weird to spank to an actor that's played Jesus. Joaquin Phoenix played Jesus in Mary Magdalene, which co-starred his wife, Rooney Mara. There you go. Why do people not like Joaquin Phoenix?
I think it might be how he looks. I know Alexis hates him. You don't like him because of his recent, like, he dropped out of a film
Yeah.
and left a lot of people holding the bag. And then,
Holding the bag with no money, basically. But yeah. I almost protested seeing this just over his recent thing. So MC is talking about the fact that there is a great gay director, Todd Haynes. He's made some really great films. And if you believe the trades, basically, Joaquin Phoenix gave a script to Todd Haynes, and they worked on developing it together. And Joaquin Phoenix was going to be the gay lover of a Mexican immigrant in like the 1930s or something. And 5 days before production, he pulled out, and the rumor was he had cold feet over playing gay. And it's sort of like, wait a minute, all these amazing roles that you've played and the acting stretching that you've done, and that's what's going to scare you, homosexuality. I don't know if that's true or not, obviously, but when you leave a production 5 days before, you can't find a replacement, and essentially that production shut down. And when we talk about movies, it's not just, you can't just go, hey, here's a script, this and that. Even little films that you see that are only $6 million, they take years to plan and pre-produce and things like that, and get everybody together. And then you start filming production. And then there's a post-production process of editing and then getting it out and marketing. And so when you do something like that, which I've heard he's done before, it just matches all of the weird, eccentric behavior. He also went on this tear where he was pretending to be this musician character person, and any interview he did, he was channeling that character. And I think it was the subject of a film called I'm Still Here. And just all of those other weird eccentricities, I think, rub some people the wrong way. But when you hear about his beginnings, and then obviously what happened with his brother River, well, I won't complete that sentence, but I'm just saying, like, and it wasn't Explorers he was in Space Camp, another space movie, another space kids movie. River was in Explorers. So there you go.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. So when we review, anybody else for cast?
Nope, that was all I had.
Also, I have to remark on the fact that his actual last name is Bottom.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Pretty cool. Oh, also shout out Zazie Beetz. She returned in this.
Yes, actually, you know what? It's funny. The other shout outs I was going to give is the judge is played by a great character actor, Bill Smitrovich, who I love. He was on a show called it was called something like That's Life or something like that. But he had a son who had Down syndrome, and it was such a great show. I love Bill Smitrovich. I think he's a great character actor. One of the guards is a gentleman named Mac Brandt, a redheaded actor, gorgeous. He's been on shows like Kingdom. There was a really crazy movie called Game Over Man on Netflix, starring that. He's got that scrunchy face. He's the comedian. He was in like Pitch Perfect. I can't remember that guy's name. And I'm trying to think if there's any other character actor that cropped up in this.
Steve Coogan was in this.
Yes, Steve Coogan was in here. He played Patty Myers. Patty Myers, I don't know. And then I should say that the guy who played the prosecutor was actually kind of good looking. Not a lot to do in the role to basically stretch or whatever. But I've never heard of that actor before. Something Lottie.
Harry Lottie.
Yeah, Harry Lottie. Harry Lottie. Life Goes On is what it was called. Yeah. I can't. Are there any other actors that cropped up? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Nice.
I'm just going through really quickly. No, I think I covered the people I wanted to cover. So, okay.
Cool. Ready for the MC log line?
Yep. So when we review a movie, we split into spoiler free, meaning we won't spoil the plot or any big plot turns. So you can actually listen to us, turn us off, go see the movie, come back, and then hear the spoiler section. But before we do that, there is something called a log line, which is how films or series are pitched. And basically it's like a teaser 1 or 2 sentence summary of the movie that you're about to see, or we're about to review. And so MC has a log line, and here we go.
Yeah, this one's really good. I put a lot of effort into it. I think it really
Pops.
encapsulates the entire story of this movie.
Okay.
Joker goes on trial. That's all that happens.
Okay, except that you completely missed Lee Quinzel.
Yeah, but that's just part of him going on trial,
How about Joker goes on trial, and while he does it, he retreats internally into a musical world.
Sure, you can say that, but I'm doing Joker goes on trial.
Right. You are right about that. Actually, and now, speaking of getting into it, spoiler-free reviews for Joker, Folie, aka Joker 2, aka big box office bomb. MC, how'd you feel about it?
I didn't have a great time. I didn't hate it. I will say that. I've been seeing a bunch of reviews, people being like, this movie sucks. Like, I was hearing really bad things. I didn't hate it.
Okay.
I still think it was like a well-made movie in some aspects. Specifically the beginning. Like, I was kind of into it at the beginning. The sound, the music that was playing when he was in the prison, I was like, oh man, like this is brooding. I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
And nothing ever happens. It's so boring. Anytime music played, it was about 40 minutes into this movie, and I was like, oh, if I ever have to get up and go to the bathroom, I'll just wait until someone starts singing, then I can go to the bathroom, and then I come back, and it won't matter because nothing happens while they sing. Like, I know I know that's part of it is they want to make a musical. They're gonna have music in there. I don't hate that. I hated the utilization of the music, how it was just like you said, it was internal dream sequences kind of, and they just never mattered. There were no stakes in this for me. Like, I didn't care what happened to any of the characters. I think excellent movies have this thing where every single scene feels like its own self-contained story. There's something pulling at the characters. There's drama in every scene. I didn't feel that in this. Each scene just felt like it existed to set up the next scene for something else to happen.
The next musical number.
Yeah, and like nothing ever really happened. I don't really understand what the point of this movie was. I don't know.
So actually, let me ask you that. So this is technically a sequel, right? It happens 4 years, or is it 3 years? I don't know. Sometime after the first film, when he went on his sort of rampage and murdered, I almost said Willem Dafoe, Robert De Niro, live on television. So as a sequel, looking back on it, do you think it advanced the character and set the stage for a third film?
No, I think like I understand from the filmmaker's perspective why they would want to explore this character more. I think like Joaquin still does a good job with the character. There is something interesting there with like, are these two separate personalities? Is he just acting? Like, is it an act? The Joker thing just an act? But I feel like it never capitalizes on it in an interesting way. It's not entertaining enough for me. I don't remember enough about the first one. I wasn't a fan of the first one. Like, it's crazy researching this scene. Like, is nominated for like best director and best picture. Like,
yeah,
I had a similar experience with that one where I just left and I was like, it didn't make me feel anything. I felt like so distanced from the material. I didn't really care about what happened. I didn't like what I saw. Like, I feel the same way with this.
How'd you feel about Lady Gaga?
I thought she was fine.
Yeah.
Like,
Some reviews say that she is underutilized and not well used.
yeah.
Can you address that? What do you think?
Yeah, I can see that. I think I did like when they kind of changed it into maybe she has ulterior motives. Maybe she's like this mastermind or whatever. And again, like it's just not used in an interesting way. It like briefly brings it up and then nothing happens. And I would have liked to see it make that transition. Like 15, 20 minutes of her screen time is like the dream sequence music scenes where it like doesn't really matter. She has an amazing voice. I'm not a Lady Gaga fan. I don't listen to her music, but I'm like, Jesus, like every time she sings, I like it. It's great. It sounds great to my ears. So I enjoyed that, but I don't know. She didn't feel like a Harley Quinn to me. She didn't feel like a villain.
Okay. So could you possibly be judging Margot Robbie's fantastic and indelible brain scarring performance of Harley Quinn?
No, I
With
didn't watch those
no.
movies.
Oh my God.
I am not.
You're not a comic book guy?
I'm not a comic book guy. I was going to
Okay.
get into this in spoilers. I could kind of bring it up now, but like, I hate how everything has to be something else. You know, like you mentioned an attorney in this, or the prosecutor.
Harvey Dent.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, he's Harvey Dent. Ugh. Like, why
Yeah,
does
he
it matter?
becomes
Why-
Two-Face.
Yeah. Why? Like, I don't care. I don't need to see Venom. Same thing with the ending of this movie. Something happens, and then someone is behaving a certain way, and you're like, "Oh, this is gonna be this person." Like, I don't need that shit. Just give me just give me a movie. I think that's what the last Joker movie they had. Was there anything like that in it? Were there like other comic book characters popping up, or like wasn't it just Joker? Like,
Not particularly. No, it was more so the first film was more of like a character study, and it was
Yeah.
very much not like a typical comic book film. I found it to be kind of a harsh indictment of healthcare and mental health status, that essentially, he became crazy because no one was really looking out for him. There was no support system for him, and he just went nuts, I thought that was what was so strong about the first film, and some of it was pretty shocking or whatever, but I liked that exploration of the character from like a different lens. But you felt not. Did you think? Did you feel like a psychological impact from the screenwriting? Do you think it went deep or not deep enough, or did you just not care?
in this?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. There was no impact on me whatsoever. I was like actively trying. I had to sit my seat up so I could stay awake.
Oh,
I-
damn.
I could not get into this. Actually, like I was into it at the beginning. It just like
Yeah.
it was just so boring the entire way. I just keep saying that word because I don't know, that's how I could describe it. I couldn't connect to anything after the first 20 minutes.
The songs in the film are kind of a mix of, like, I would say period songs, like 70s, 80s, some standards, some like jazz standards, and then stuff from like musicals.
Mhm.
Did you like the music?
Yeah, sure. I don't think it was utilized in the best way, like story wise.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think that's fair.
Yeah, it just felt like they were breaking into song, and I don't know, it never really mattered to me. I was just like, another song.
Okay. So Cupcake spoiler free thoughts on Joker 2. I as you know, or as I just indicated, I, especially with the recent news article about Joaquin Phoenix, I was ready to protest this. In fact, I think I texted Alex, MC, and I was basically like, find a guest. I'm not reviewing this. I can't be an unbiased reviewer because of my hate for Joaquin Phoenix. So, you know, I went into this and I had arms crossed and I was like, I'm ready to hate fuck this movie with my eyes. Oh shoot, is that are we gonna get censored on YouTube? Whatever.
No,
Who cares? Who cares? Anyway, and much to my surprise,
You loved it.
I really enjoyed this movie. In fact, not to get super lofty, because I am going to, as Brad says, add a million caveats to this, but not to get lofty, but this is why we go to cinema, because I want to surrender to a director and a writer's vision, and I want to see something even if it's polarizing, right? Now that doesn't always work. It doesn't always work for every film. I know The Substance is certainly not going to work for a lot of people. That is what I would call a polarizing movie. But this film is not, it's not polarizing because of the violence in it. I mean, in standard stuff, people get bludgeoned, things blow up. People get shot and stabbed, and murdered. But I think what's polarizing about this film is the fact that it is a musical, and that people break out into song. Now, it's not a traditional musical. In other words, Joker and Harley Quinn are really the only ones who are singing, although you can kind of lump Brendan Gleeson into singing there, but people aren't dancing. It's not like a Bjork video or anything like that. But speaking of Bjork, this film reminded me of I don't know if it's popular. I know a lot of people didn't like it, and it's a very difficult movie to watch. But there is a Lars von Trier movie called Dancer in the Dark, starring Bjork, and that film was about a sort of a woman, a very emotional, inward woman who has a relationship. And then there's this sort of Mijigas about like somebody who dies. And it's a very hard film to watch, but she has an internal monologue where she sinks into herself. And then there are these musical numbers where she's singing and other people are singing. And I remember when that film came out, it was, I don't remember if it was very well received, but I know a lot of people were like, how is this storytelling? But when I saw it, not only because I'm a Bjork fan, but it just was so emotional. And it's so hard to watch. I cried at the end. Like, yeah. But anyway, this film reminded me of that. And so I called it, in looking at the previews, that like these musical numbers would be basically inside people's heads. Like, you know, but I think not only the way that this is presented in the narrative, I think that as a comic book movie, we have had the Marvel backlash, and we have talked about the fact that comic book films are so formulaic and they are steps to the next movie. And then we hunger for something that's different. We hunger for a comic book movie that's going to give us something new, something to look at, something to think about. And then when we get it, we shit all over it. Like, so unfortunately, I think I don't understand why people are against this film, although I'm
It's boring.
I'm gonna roll that back. I can see why people are against this film, because again, it's from Joker's point of view. It is slow, it's very deliberate, it's more of a drama picture, it's not a typical comic book movie. But I like that this comic book sequel is not like anything you've ever seen before. Now, I think that it moves the Joker character along. It introduces Harvey Dent, a character from the comic. It introduces a location from the comic and video games, Arkham Asylum, basically. And I think that the Arthur Fleck character, I won't get it too much into it and wait until spoilers, but he has a really great dramatic character arc here. And it's almost sad and tragic. And I love what Lady Gaga did with Harley Quinn or Lee Quinzel. And I love that they posited her as a character of, is she, isn't she? Is she have an ulterior motive? Is she just a hanger on? Is she just a groupie? But their character resolution and their relationship arc, I mean, it really, really hit me. I'll go into it more into the spoilers. Now, the caveats. Yeah, it's much longer than it should be. The musical numbers could have been used with more dramatic effect because unfortunately there's some musical numbers that come and go where I'm like, why did we just see that other than talking about the emotional journey that the character is going through in that scene through song? So I think if they had used those a little bit more judiciously, this would be a really strong film. There's a rumor going around that because Phillips was such a successful director and creator for Warner Brothers, they kind of gave him carte blanche and like director's cut on this. But and the film wasn't tested. That is a fact. The film was not tested. They gave Phillips full reign, and unfortunately, it's too long. The pacing is definitely very off, very slow. But I was totally into it, and they could have just kept it to like maybe 4 big numbers and told the story, and it would have had such a better impact, right? Why was there no musical number in the courtroom? Like, I wanted to see that, right? If you're going to go that crazy, go there. And so there's a kind of a jumbled stew here, and I think that's the big caveat is it needed some editing, some paring down. It needed less of the musical numbers. It needed more of the impactful musical numbers and just punching things home. I love the way the movie began. It was a total what the fuck moment for everybody in my theater. I'm sad that people are revolting against this because I think they're expecting the first film, but I love the big swing. I love that this is not a traditional comic book movie. I love that they gave us something that everybody's been asking for a comic book sequel, and now everybody's kind of shit on it. So I think people are going to come around on this. It might take some years, but it's a huge watch for me, especially in the theaters.
So, like, what keeps you invested? What was keeping you going from scene to scene? Because I was just like, I don't like, why does any of this matter? Like, what, he's at his trial, he's just going to be locked up in prison. They're not just going to let him go. So, like, why am I sitting through this? Is it just like his internal struggle?
I think it's the psychology of the character and how he deals with the fact that now he has to be responsible for this. We'll talk about that more in like the spoiler section, because I think it's gonna give away some of the plot points, what little that there are. But this is a very internal film in the same way that the first film was very, very psychological and getting into the psyche of how Arthur became Joker. And this is a sequel now, a psychological sequel in some ways, of where he stands now, awaiting trial, and what's going to happen in the future. Like, who is he going to be and how is he going to survive the trial? And then his relationship with Harley is what really got me into it. I mean, I'm not going to say it's the best thing ever, but when they meet and she does that little gun thing or whatever, like, I was hooked. I was like, I need to see how these two develop. And I love the way that they created that relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do not, but
Okay.
thank you for sharing.
So how hard of a skip is this?
It's not that hard. Like, I still think it does a good job in some places, but it doesn't like take it far enough to like actually go into anything that I found interesting more than just surface level. So yeah, it's a skip. If you watch it in theaters, I won't be like, why are you spending money on this or whatever.
Yes.
I don't know. It's not as bad. Like Letterboxd, I think it has a 2.5 and Megalopolis has a 2.4. Like,
What
it's,
the
yeah,
fuck?
it
No,
should not
no.
be that close to Megalopolis. Megalopolis should be a lot further down.
It
but
should be a
I gave
1.8.
Yeah, I
is
gave
that?
Joker 2 a 2.5. So
Oh. Wait, what's the rating system again? Is it a 5?
yeah.
Okay. So anybody new to the podcast, you'll know that I pretty much love everything, okay? But if your score is right in the middle, that's my sweet spot. That is an automatic signal to me. Watch this fucking movie because the people are split right down the middle. I'm also going to say this hot take. It's one of my favorites of the year. And I can't believe I'm actually saying that because I had so much hate for Joaquin Phoenix and he blew me away in this. He really did. Although I cringed at his body. I don't know if some of that is I know that some of that is he grew up, I think he has like a defective shoulder. There's a bone thing that he grew up with. So he does have a weird body that he grew up with. Weird is such a terrible word, but if you watch Gladiator and he has his shirt off, you'll see what I'm talking about. And I don't know if they added makeup here, but I cringed at his condition. Scooter, my husband Scooter, who saw this with me, he was like, he's been in jail for 4 years, 3 hots in a cot. How is he that fucking skinny? And I'm like, because he's tortured on the inside and he's not eating. Anyway, so we are going to segue into our spoiler section. So if you are watching us now and you haven't seen Joker, we're going to spoil it. You might want to turn us off, but we're going to spoil it in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Okay. So the big thing about this movie that made it so tragic is that as if the first film wasn't enough, that he, in a way, was victimized by society and kind of became the person he is because of that, he gets fucking victimized again. Not only in the jail, but by the court system, but by the people that supposedly are his big fans. And then ultimately, he gets victimized by Harley Quinn, the first person he's ever able to fall in love with and have sex with. And so all of that, I mean, they could have built a lot of that stuff up quicker and with better pacing, but that's the hammer that bludgeoned my head like the judge, is that this is yet another film where he gets victimized by all the little facets of society. And, you know, looking at the comics and watching the old school Batman and even some of the other movies with Joker, it's easy to make Joker a one-off character. I'm crazy or whatever. But what I loved about the first film was it gave him some dimension. And this movie does that as well. And while it starts with I'm going to call it the annoying mechanism and the sort of, I think, what do I want to say? I think it's too on the nose that it's internal, that the musical numbers are there. But how else do you convey that sort of like inner tortured turmoil, except to do it this way? So that when he sees Harley Quinn and he falls in love, it's like it's music and things are wonderful and things are looking up. But there's the specter of the trial. And I love the way that they worked in this whole, you know, the lawyer is saying, well, you have to say it's your alternate personality or you're going to get the death penalty or you're going to die, right? And then Harley Quinn says, no, you're the other guy. You're Joker. Everybody loves you. And you have all these fans. You have a cult around you. And then when he denounces that personality and he takes responsibility for his actions, I killed 5 people. Right? Or actually it's 6 because it's mom. I killed 6 people. I'm not the Joker. It was me. And then she rejects him over that. Oh my God. I knew it. When he was walking up those stairs, I was like, girl, he's either going to fall down those stairs or it's just going to be him on those stairs alone. Again, victimized, brutalized, isolated, left alone to stew in his own insanity. It broke my heart.
I agree that all of that is interesting, and I do like that aspect of this movie. I just don't think it was done efficiently enough or effectively enough.
Yeah, and I think you are absolutely right about that because they could have cut out like 5 of these songs and the film would have definitely been more impactful. So I asked you if you thought the film was psychologically deep or not, because I kind of picked up on those things. I don't know if you had noticed, but and I have to go back and watch it. Yes, for a second time, but uh, because it's so experiential and it's really just Joker's world and I'm sorry, Harley Quinn's world. What I noticed was a lot of it was shot with it's either long lenses or short lenses, I forget, but long lenses where there's a lot that's in sharp focus in front of you, but everything in the back is sort of blurred out. And so a lot of the photography was that way because you're really only focusing on those two characters. But then when we get our music sequences or these impactful scenes, everything becomes sharp and in detail with shorter lenses. So I loved that they were creating this world. And then when we go to the music sequences, and then we go to the end with the trial, things start to get sharper and clearer because things are getting sharper and clearer with Madam Joker, with the Joker or whatever.
Yeah. That reminds me, I wanted your opinion on every time. This also added a lot of time to the movie, I think. There were
Yeah.
so many scenes of him going like back and forth in a car from the prison to the courthouse or whatever. And every single time it was him, the camera was inside the car. And then after he like denounced Joker and like took responsibility for his action, then the camera was on the outside of the car and the glass was like separating. Do you know, like off the top of your head, like, is there an explanation for that?
No, I think it's intentional because
Yeah.
we've now moved from his internal and him, ditching that personality and saying there is no Joker, there's just me, right? And yet that is ultimately what brings him down. It gets him the guilty verdict, and then so when he gets the guilty verdict, which I think we all knew was going to happen, right? Um, the a car bomb goes off by one of his Joker minions, and then he actually crawls out of the courthouse, and then these Joker fans basically try to rescue him, but then he's like, who are these people? I don't know who they are. And then he tries to run away from them basically, and he gets like caught again.
Mm.
But so psychologically, there's the cinematography, but if you noticed in the beginning when they lay eyes on each other and she does like the gun thing, that is the signal that they're sort of like, I don't know, like kindred souls, or she's recognizing he's kind of a kindred soul. But towards the end of the movie, as we get the dream sequence where she shoots him with the gun, and you're kind of like, well, what the fuck is that? Right. And I think that the writers want us to think, oh, he thinks he's going to get hurt by Harley Quinn if he gets invested in her. But what we come to find is that when he denounces the personality and she's like, you ain't the Joker that I fell in love with, she has the gun and she puts it to her head as if to say, I'm no longer Joker in love Harley. I'm now a new Harley, but I have different makeup at the end because I'm a different Harley Quinn. So this film is also the creation of Harley Quinn and that sort of persona.
Yeah, I think the signs behind them in the music number or whatever, it says Joker and Harley or whatever, like that's what she's signing up for. And whenever it turns to Arthur and Harley, she's like, I don't want this. Like,
Yes,
this isn't what I signed up for.
Exactly. And there was another part in the movie that reminded me of Batman Returns, because in Batman Returns there's a scene where Batman confronts the Penguin, and the Penguin says something along the lines of like, being direct, I admire that in a man with a mask. And one of the lines that I really loved in this film was that Harley Quinn and Joker, she puts the makeup on him, and she's like, now you're yourself. So this sort of idea of he has to have the makeup on, the mask on to become himself. But he's, Arthur's personality is so delicate because he's still trying to figure out, like, really, who am I and why did I kill these people? And is this, you know, am I truly this person? And I'm so curious to see where psychologically they're going to take us in the third film, but I don't think there's going to be a third film. And I'm really sad about that because, like I said, I think this is a comic book sequel that's unorthodox and that's a huge swing. And I'm just sad that people didn't enjoy the ride.
So you're saying a third film. Doesn't he die?
You can't kill the Joker, man.
So
and no, so wait, so let me backtrack too. The other push and pull, as so in the first film, it was pretty much society and all the things that we have in place and not caring for people who are clearly having mental illness, right? The pushes and the pulls here are the criminal justice system, the lawyer telling him to do one thing, Harley Quinn, I love you, but you being the Joker, not actually Arthur, which is what his journey he thought emotionally it was. But then also, how does he square the fact that there are people out there who are acting violent and murdering in his name using the Joker persona? And so he has all of these forces pulling at him, and it's only literally a matter of a broadcast where those forces will turn against you. The lawyer turned against, so the lawyer didn't turn against him, but in a way she sort of did because she towed the line of, you're crazy, you're insane, right? It's the other personality that did it. So the criminal justice system turns against him, finds him guilty. The fans turn against him because they just want chaos. And that's not what he's down for. That's why he runs away from them. And then Harley turns against him as well because he renounces the whole Joker thing. And what does that leave us? That leaves us with a shell of still, who am I? Right? And that's
a sick man named Arthur.
But that's what I bought into. And that's what I loved about this movie. And I agree. I don't think everybody's going to see it because I think they're just see all of that because they're just going to be turned off by the slow pacing, the one too many song numbers. Yeah.
Okay. So I was thinking, I want to talk about the ending. And
Yeah.
by talking about the ending, I also want to talk about the beginning. So he gets stabbed by another inmate, and
Yes.
that inmate laughs maniacally.
Did you catch what
Hinting at-
happened though?
I don't know.
He cut a Joker smile into his own mouth. Now, okay. Now you don't see that up close, right?
So that means like this guy's going to be the next Joker, is making himself like he's going to take the reins of Joker, is how I was seeing it. But to go back to the beginning, we have the animated intro, and I took a play out of your book, and I was thinking during the entire time, the beginning tells us what's happening at the end or whatever.
Yes.
And so through that, I've been a little confused by who the shadow is, because it's like the Joker and his shadow. I was like, okay, is it Arthur and then his shadow is Joker, or vice versa? Or is it Joker / Arthur and then the shadow is Harley Quinn? I don't know. But then it gets to the point where at the end of that, the police beat him to his death, basically. And so I was like,
And then that happens later in the film.
yeah. But
Yeah.
then I was also like, okay, the actual ending, the police are like, hey, or the guard, the prison guard is like, hey, you have a guest here. And then he like leaves him alone in the hallway and then he dies. I'm like, okay, the guards were in on it. Like they knew that the guy was going to stab him. So that's why the guy walked so far ahead. So Arthur was alone in the hallway and would get stabbed and he wouldn't see it or whatever. So I see that, but who's the shadow? What's the shadow? What's going on with the shadow? Do you have any idea?
So I think the shadow is what I've been talking about is like inside himself, Arthur is still trying to figure out who he is. You know, and I think the shadow is the Joker.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the one that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's that duality that he's dealing with. But again, I think that what makes the movie so tragic is he arrives at one answer, and it clearly leads to him being victimized by like everybody around him.
I feel like no matter what, he's gonna die anyways.
Yes.
So I guess I don't see the effectiveness that you do, and like all these decisions, like him choosing to be Arthur over the Joker, like taking blame for it. I'm like, okay, like he's gonna be found guilty. He's gonna die. Like Harley's not gonna love him anymore. I thought that was like pretty obvious too. She just wanted Joker. She called him Joker. She wouldn't have sex with him unless she painted his face to be the Joker. Like,
So I think, listen, in context, this movie and the first movie, we're watching the evolution of Joker, basically. And I think that there are still some human remnants, which is why he decides to take responsibility. But remember, I think that he chooses to take the responsibility because he misunderstands Harley Quinn's love. And he misunderstands the love of the Joker groupies, right? But in the end, they don't really care about Arthur. They only care about Joker. And that's his downfall. And so at the end of the film, when he gets stabbed, he's left again at a place where no one's supporting him. Everybody is against him. And so what's left? And so I think that the third film is End Stage Joker, where now it doesn't matter what people think about him or who loves him. He's going to be the chaotic, the seed of chaos Joker that we know from the comics. So I think that that's
you
what
think there will be a third movie?
I don't know, but I feel like that's where they're kind of going with this, because this is a series focused only on Joker, and it's clearly the stages of his evolutions, right? So how do we get to the Joker that's running around from building to building, carousing with villains, murdering and killing people indiscriminately, a la The Killing Joke, which is one of the better graphic novels or whatever.
Mhm.
This is a step to get to that. And so that's why I said everybody hates films because it's a comic book films because it's a step to another sequel. This is a step to another sequel. It's just fashioned in a way that doesn't seem as obvious. And I like that. I like that swing.
So when they made the first one, it was intended to be a standalone film. They weren't supposed to do a sequel. That's why there's been 5 years between them.
Yeah.
So I think that's why, for me, this one feels so forced.
Or maybe
And,
like a cash grab.
Yeah,
What it feels
and
like, yeah.
and like the stuff with Harvey Dent and like that the new Joker at the end, that guy like doing his stuff. Like this feels more like a comic book movie than the other one did. The other one didn't feel like a comic book movie at all. And like I think that's why it was so loved, I guess, like why everyone liked it, and
Yeah.
it felt so refreshing. And I get they were like, okay, this is going to be that, but we're having music, but it doesn't do the same thing. Like this feels like a comic book movie, even though it has the musical and it's like a little more introspective. It still feels like it's
Yeah,
connected to this bigger Arkham world, and like,
well, it certainly can be, but and of course I'm building it up as basically connected because of the character arc that he goes through. But I think that the themes that the film are exploring is that when we get that last shot of him, like, do we know if he's dead or not? And then the guy is carving, whatever. It sort of brings up this whole, like the title, Folie à Deux. We think ostensibly it's between Harley and Joker, but it could also extend to Joker and his influence on other people. And now that influence has gotten so crazy that somebody who appears to be worshiping Joker kills him or tries to kill him to become the next Joker.
Mhm.
And so I think that, you know, that imagery is at the end is almost like, you know, is craziness and homicidal tendencies, is that a virus that spreads? You know what I mean? Like, because clearly the other guy's got it, right? Meanwhile, the whole film, that guy has always just sort of looked up to Joker and admired him and hung out in the background and sort of like smiled. You
That
know?
that was something I wanted to point out was like every time they would show him, it would hold on it for like 1 second longer than any other prisoner. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
what like
What's going to
what's
happen
up,
with this
what's
guy?
up with this guy? And then when he shows up at the final scene, I'm like, okay, he's gonna kill him. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it, but I'm really happy that you loved it. I am. Like, I hope other people watch it, love it, but
Hey, you are no more surprised than I am, because I quite honestly thought I was ready to hate this. Seriously. I was ready to buy in and just be like, it is the worst piece of shit ever. But now I feel really bad for the film, because apparently the film, it cost, I think they said $190 million. And from, if you read some of the early box office numbers on Deadline, by the way, when I say the trades, folks, I'm talking about like Deadline, The Hollywood Reporter, and anything else I can get my hands on the internet, Collider, Screen Rant, Slash Film, all of those things that the websites that I visit and read. But they're saying that from previews to Friday to Saturday night, there was something like a minus 80% drop in box office sales. And so I think part of the thing that killed this film is they premiered it at Venice without having tested it, with allowing Phillips and you know, Phoenix and stuff to do what they wanted to do. And the word of mouth from the festival was bad. And then after Cannes, it was bad as well. And so I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot, a la the Joker. But you know, whatever. It is what it is.
yeah, I see.
Still a watch for me. Still a watch for me.
I see Joker's budget was 55 to 70 million, so it's kind of crazy. They tripled that almost for the sequel.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's an actor I love. His name is Brady Corbet. I forget the name of the film, but he directed a 3-hour film about like World War II. And it's getting all these accolades. It's supposed to be absolutely amazing. I think it's called like The Instigator or something. I'm going to try to look this up while I'm doing this. But basically, that 3-hour epic that everybody's fawning over and going gaga, if you will, over, $6 million. And it's probably going to be a huge hit. Brady Corbet. He's a great actor. He was in the remake of Funny Games. He's gorgeous. He was also in Mysterious Skin, if you ever saw that, by Greg Araki. But he became a writer and a director. It's called The Brutalist, is what the movie is called. But he also, I think his directorial debut was a film called Vox Lux with Natalie Portman, which is pretty fantastic, even though everybody hated it.
Nice. There's a bunch of people in this movie.
There are a bunch of good people.
Yeah.
Adrian Brody, Felicity Jones, Guy Pearce. And the log line goes, when visionary architect Laszlo Toth and his wife Erzsébet flee post-war Europe in 1947 to rebuild their legacy and witness the birth of modern America, their lives are changed forever by a mysterious and wealthy client.
When
I
does this
hear
come
it's
out? We
amazing.
need to cover more movies like this.
Look at that runtime, 3 hours and 35 minutes.
Oh, well.
Yeah. No, but it was a huge smash at Cannes, so we should be seeing it soon.
Okay. Yep. December 20th.
Yeah. Just in time for awards season.
Well, we got to watch Nosferatu around that time too. So,
absolutely. Which, by the way, did you know there's another Nosferatu coming out?
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Somebody else. And when I say somebody else, it was somebody mentioned this to me, and I was like, "Who made one?" But yeah, apparently there's another Nosferatu coming out, and
okay,
yeah, I need to figure out what it is, but we'll see. Okay, so unfortunately, it's a skip for Emcee. It's a watch for me. If viewers, listeners, YouTubers, anybody, if you feel like you want to comment on this and get the discussion going, go right for it in the comment section here, or you can reach out to our social media. We are on Instagram, YouTube now, obviously Facebook, X, as well as Discord. And if you love us, we're going to do what we call the pod roll. And these are some recommendations of other podcasts that you like, that you would like if you love us. A lot of them aren't on YouTube yet, but I expect that to change, I guess, maybe. I don't know. See how our experiment goes. But we call them our pod fathers because they inspired MC and I and the former co-host Red to start this podcast. But that is the Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema. You may wonder what midnight cinema is, but that's basically like your grindhouse, your exploitation, your foreign Euro crime films. These are films that are down and dirty and maybe skeezy, not your mainstream entertainment. But the Gentleman's Guide has been going strong for quite some time. They're in episode 300 or something like that. It might even be more. It might be like 600, folks. They've been going a while. But they are one of our pod fathers with Samurai and Big Willie. They co-host that podcast. Also, Not a Bomb. This is co-hosted by Brad and Troy and Brad, sorry. Not a Bomb basically takes films that either bombed theatrically or critically. And I'm going to ask them when they do this film to have us on again. So MC can be tortured by watching it yet again.
I'll pass. Also, Gentleman's Guide is on almost to episode 700.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay. Episode 700. Jesus Lord. But Not a Bomb takes a look at bombs of the past and then votes. Is this a bomb? It's not a bomb. Maybe it's a bomb. I don't know. I've guested on those. My first guest appearance was for the film Showgirls. And that inspired me to maybe do my own podcast with a co-host, hence this show. So those are our podfathers, the OGs, we call them, the Night of the Living podcast. They are a podcast that basically inspired all three of us to be podcasting. You will also love Wild Dream podcast. These are two brothers out of, I want to say it's Colorado, maybe Texas. I know they started in Texas, but we love those guys. Death by DVD. Raiders of the Podcast. This is a podcast from Europe in the UK. And then Backlook Cinema podcast, which is hosted by Zoe Alonso. And he and his son review films that Alonso has seen before or hasn't seen. And then they sort of discuss those things. Alonso was on our Beetlejuice 2 episode. I'm not going to say Beetlejuice. And now for something a little bit different. This is hosted by John Horgan. It's on YouTube as well. So head on over there and subscribe and like his clips. Basically, he talks about off the beaten path films. And I'm on a series of his exploring the films of Oliver Reed. We did Women in Love, as well as like Condor Man. And I think we're doing something called the Assassination Bureau. And then, of course, Caliber 9 from Outer Space. I want to say they're in the UK as well. And then The Feminine Critique, which is a great female-empowered, female-based view look at movies and pop culture. They are amazing. And then they're a back catalog of podcasts, meaning they don't have new episodes, but they're definitely great to listen to and very informative, especially if podcasts are your thing. So we've got Married with Clickers, VHS Files. They also used to be on YouTube as well. So definitely check them out and follow. Maybe if you follow, like, subscribe them, they'll be encouraged to come back and continue. Silva and Gold, Cult of Muscle, and then Friends with Cinefits, which was actually MC's podcast as well. And MC.
I'm Alex. He's Jose. This is Watch Skip Plus, Save Exhibition by Physical Media, and we will see you at B Ward and Arkham Asylum.
Excellent.
Where they sing and they dance.
Where they sing and they dance. Get a little bit happy. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.